Hi everyone, this is Jackmate from NWE Broadcast Square, and I'm here with Lost Geek. And today we are doing a replay review of a game that we played together.
Yes.
And first of all, hi Lost Geek.
Hey everyone.
And we start as always. We start with the deck list and just take a quick look at what we are dealing with today. And we decided to take a look at our special Footgun PD. Can you tell me something about it, Lost
Yes, I can probably first tell you something about the name. We called it Footgun PD because there are like a dozen of ways of shooting yourself in the foot with this deck, and you will see a few of those maybe in this replay. The general idea of the deck is to just go very quickly. You don't have really good eyes, but you have really good eyes, but not big eyes. So all of your ice does something while the runner doesn't have any breakers. It's more gear checky, but also is able to put some economic pressure on the runner. For example, if you look at Maskurovka, which is like our greatest ice and why we are spending 6 influence to import it, it doesn't look like much, but breaking a 3 strength barrier is difficult for most people. Like Shapers will need a propeller and 2 counters, and so then you can tax them on their propeller counters. Crims, as will be the runner in this game that we are showing today, with Kurupira, will have to pay 4 credits to break it fully. So you have paid 3 to res, it's 4 to break. Amazing. And also, if they run into it without being able to break it, you've just resed this barrier for 1. So the deck is just able to put up a lot of pressure early, hold out runners early on, and build an advantage to finish out the game really quickly, ideally like on turn 7, but typically on turns 8 to 10. And you do that by having access to wage workers for your click generation, and having both nano management and some tricks with nano management, increasing the palm red level clearance to generate you clicks from playing 3 operations with wage workers without actually paying any clicks for the operations themselves. So now you have, let's say, 4 clicks left and can score a 5-3, or you have, because wage workers is giving you a click. Or 3 clicks left, scoring a midnight 3, stuff like that.
Yeah, and also you can even squeeze in a fully operational to draw cards, or your digital life to get make money in between, if you have enough nano managements and red level clearance to make up for the clicks spent.
And
I think
one of the things that the deck is definitely capable of is like drawing your entire deck, playing your digital life, and then scoring out the 5-3. Definitely an option.
Sure, I think that's enough for the deck so far. I don't think we have to go into all the details, and let's just jump into our replay, which starts with these starting hands. We're playing against Sable, or against me, against the enemy, which is Sable, and we have a starting hand of Humanoid, fully operational, Scatterfield, Wage Workers, and Drafter. Can you tell me about your what are you looking for if you look at this hand, or if you decide to mulligan or not?
Against Criminal, you definitely look for ice, which we have 2 of here, so that is good. 1 Footgun is already here in our starting hand. Scatterfield is not an ice against Criminals, because once you put a Scatterfield on HQ, you're safe like the first few turns of the game. But then you're looking at a Scatterfield that you don't want to put a second ice on top of because of its text, where it has +4 strength if it's the only ice on the server. So now you're incentivized to not put a second ice on HQ, which will definitely come around to bite you. So
you mean it's not a central ice, basically, right? It's still an ice that you can put on a remote, but
you can also put it on R&D. Against Crim, you can also put it on R&D sometimes, depending on twinning situations, stuff like that. But you definitely would love to have it on remote instead.
Or Archives is probably also fine, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
But just it's not an HQ ice. It's
exactly.
not the ice that you want to have early against Crim, because you want to ice HQ because of transfer of wealth and stuff, and it's not very good in the long term. All right.
Yeah, I would say this hand is not optimal. Like you definitely want, I don't know, hedge fund or your digital life, something that gives you some money. You have the humanoid resources and you can put it behind some ice, but if the runner has a pinhole, if the runner actually if you put down a drafter in a Scatterfield and the runner has, I don't know, okay, maybe Boomerang Transfer of Wealth is too much, like just make them have it. But if they are still just able to push you into having to raise your eyes, you can get behind that way. So It is not optimal, but still you have wage workers already in hand, which will come handy in like a turn or two. You have your humanoid resources, which is a great way of getting into the game. You have some ice. You even have a fully operational. Like, this is definitely a keep.
And I think one more important thing is that humanoid resources gets less and less value in this deck, especially the more the game goes on, right?
Yes.
So having it early is a nice
Yeah,
thing.
we are not playing 3 copies because we want to play 3 copies. We are playing 3 copies because we want the first one really early.
All right, but you say this is a keep. Runner keeps as well. We won't be looking. We can look at the hand of the runner a little bit, but I don't think we need here. We need to here. So let's just see what we mandatory draw. We draw into a red level clearance.
And this is now the first interesting bit, and something we've also discussed while looking back over the game. Like, what do you do here? One option, and like the option that the deck wants to do, if it can, is to just play red level clearance for a click and an install humanoid, and then use the 3 clicks to use humanoid and just get into the game. The problem here is now we have 2 installs and an operation, and the operation that we are looking at the moment is fully operational. If you happen to draw a hedge fund with your 3 draws, this is amazing. Because you just install some ice on HQ, install an ice on probably not R&D, you can just leave it open, but prepare a remote, maybe find a spin doctor and install that, or just install the scatter field on a remote, preparing for your next turns, and then just play a hedge fund, and that's amazing. The problem is we are looking at fully operational here, so what are we doing? The other option that you have with a hand like this, especially if you're looking at red level, which is a really, really good operation in this deck, you can just hope to be able to keep it around and later on do some shenanigans with wage worker turns and get value out of your red level that way. The problem here is if I'm putting a humanoid in a remote and expecting it to stay there for a turn, I'm for one running into pinhole, which we can see the runner has here, but even if that doesn't happen, you have to ice it with something that actually protects it, so scatter field probably. And then you are putting a draft on HQ likely. And so if you're now forced to res the drafter, your humanoid resources is just vulnerable. And it is very likely that your humanoid resources will not survive the turn. And at that point, this hand is kind of clunky. You can still put the wage workers in the remote, play fully operational, get into the game that way, but it's definitely not optimal. So in the end, I decided here to just play the red level.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I think it's just making sure that you get the value from the humanoid
exactly.
instead of hoping that it survives the turn. It makes a lot of sense.
Just use the value that you
also
have
one thing
available
that's
now.
also very interesting to know is that it's nice to have something in archives that you want to recur as drafter, and just playing the red level, having a very nice target for it is an upside.
Exactly.
And you even have another card that you can install. Now the draft is a real ice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also one point to consider. Like if you put scatter field on a remote, put draft on HQ, and put the humanoid into the remote, now you're having a drafter with nothing in archive. So if you're forced to res it, it isn't that scary. You get to install something maybe, but that's it. So definitely I like how this turn played out. Also what we are looking at now is I'm still not icing HQ because I feel like if I have 7 credits or if I have 4 credits after transfer of wealth, I can still do everything I want to do. But the upside is this way I can use the operation that I have in hand with fully operational instead of having to burn a second red level to actually get the full value out of the humanoid resources. So this feels all right for me.
I think also there's something to be said about taking risks, because sometimes it's even if you're thinking about the worst case, and the worst case is actually not great for you, it's still not likely, or it has to be evaluated if it's still worth the risk, so to speak, to just leave it open to get a better outcome if it doesn't happen, or just to make your cards line up a little bit better, like we have here.
Although I would say if getting hit by transfer of wealth would kill me here, if I would evaluate that just removes all of my options for the next 3 turns, I would not do that. But
fully
I think
operational is so nice here because we can draw up to 6 cards again, which is very cool, and then you get an extra trigger. You could also just draw 2 and not make like get the additional trigger, but that feels rough, right?
It feels much nicer, especially being on this low of credit total, it feels much nicer to even like have the option of drawing 2 more cards if what you draw doesn't help you. But with this hand, I felt like I have enough options, so I think I just took the money here.
Yeah, and installing the wage worker was. Maybe there was the option to install the spin doctor, but I don't think that's better. I think you just want to have those wage workers as soon as possible to have options when you draw your operations that work well with wage workers.
Exactly.
Even next turn we can see hedge fund red level fully operation is already a value turn for wage worker.
Like I was looking at my hand and I knew fully operation is drawing me cards, so wage workers definitely has a high chance of giving me a 3 operation turn next turn.
Runner hits the HQ mark, which is very nice for them, but they don't have as we see, the transfer of wells. So it goes Sure Gamble, Penny Shaver.
If you ever play against Checkmate in any games in your future, just be aware that the mark will always land on the best server.
But the HQ access won't be the best because I know I'm not accessing the agenda, but the drafter, which is nice knowledge. Like I like to know about the drafter here.
Yes.
But I would have liked to see an agenda, obviously, or something with a little bit more info.
Maybe one interesting thing we've discussed here is that firing a pinhole while looking really like enticing into the wage workers is not actually good because you're ending your turn on like 1 or 2 credits at that point, depending on how you order your turn. And
I mean, we said that it would have been nice to install the Chesvi if you want to pinhole, because then we can get the additional value from the Chesvi credits. But if you think about let's just rewind. If we in this situation, for example, let's say we didn't draw, we install Penny Shaver, we install Chesvi. Maybe we have to Sure Gamble first. Sure Gamble up to 9, Shaver down to 6, Chesvi down to 2, and then we pinhole down to 3.
Chesvi down to 4 and pinhole down to 3.
Chesvi down to 4, pinhole down to 3. And if we don't access the wage worker and we trash it, then we're down to 1 credit. We have only the revolver left in hand, and like our board is Penny Shaver Chesvi. It's not the greatest outcome in the end. And so
like I would say you have slowed me down quite significantly probably for the next turns, but also you have just lost all of your momentum, so that's not worth it. Just for the option of hitting maybe humanoid resources at that point. But
even if you're slow, you have 8 credits, you can install ice on centrals, and then I'm like, I don't have like much money, I have to draw up, and I think it slowed me down too much. And having the pinhole for the turn where I can better use it and don't have to cripple my economy for it, I think is better.
And at that point, I will have invested 2 credits into Wage Worker just to get a single click that probably didn't score me an agenda. So that's a completely fine exchange for you to hand me, and then still have a pinhole to kill the Wage Workers later on when it's more comfortable.
True. We mandatory draw into your digital life, which is a very nice combination with fully operational.
Yes.
Which you probably also we're gonna see it. I don't think we need to discuss this turn too much.
Exactly. The only other option would be to triple install and then play something, but the triple install would probably be like an Ingatan behind the drafter and then a spin doctor, which doesn't look all that good. So I think this is definitely the better way, because I have operations in hand, I want to use them. I have your digital life, so I want cards and then operations.
Yeah, and the thing with fully operational and why your digital life is you basically always draw with your fully operational if you can help it, because you get the same amount of money from your digital life if you draw or if you don't draw, because 2 cards basically for your digital life are also 2 credits.
Yeah. And also maybe one thing to note here, like this deck draws a lot of cards, which means that at the end of turn 2 we will only have 28 cards remaining in R&D. Like we are getting through our deck really, really quickly and seeing half of our deck by turn 3 and like most of our deck by turn 6. So this deck is super consistent in that way, but how you get there is super important.
So now we're very rich with your digital life and hedge fund, and makes sense to just plug the hole on HQ. And you decided to discard one of the Ingatans here, which I think makes sense, because it's just a card that you don't want really, and you have the Spin Doctor in hand to install next turn, and you just have to hope that it's not getting stolen until then.
And
fine,
remember, Checkmate will always put a mark on the correct server. But in this case, I was lucky. So
yeah,
you can show what
you
happens.
can probably already see the play. I'm
Exactly.
always like to draw a Sable because I want to keep my hand up to have options. I'm gambling here to keep my money up, and the pinhole on Archives is just very juicy because what we said last turn, I want to get rid of the Wage Worker because it's very essential in this deck, and you want to get rid every time you can. And so I can clicklessly basically trash it with pinhole and getting 2 credits from the Chesvier.
Yeah.
And here, with the last click, I'm deciding, do I want to see the face-down card in Archive or in R&D? And I'm going for the R&D card here, which I think is fine. I think it's kind of not. I'm not sure if you discarded an agenda here or not. And I'm much more interested in knowing what you have in hand and what your options are than knowing a card in Archives that might be an agenda.
The likelihood of being an agenda in Archives here is somewhat high, but also just having information is good. Like if I draw an ice, that's good. If you see nano management, I've got scoring options, stuff like that. So definitely arguments for both here.
Yeah. So okay, we draw another unit to life. What's the plan?
Good question. Honestly, I don't fully remember what I did here.
I think you installed the Spin Doctor. I'm pretty sure you installed the Spin Doctor.
Yeah, I think this was one of. I installed the Spin Doctor because I was thinking this might be a triple install turn because I've got an ice in hand, I have agendas in hand that I might install just behind the scatter field, stuff like that. So if I draw into Wage Worker here, but if I draw into Wage Worker here, I can just install Wage Worker, res it, install the third thing, and still get value. So installing Spin Doctor seems like a good idea to just know my options and still has all the value options later on if I happen to draw into a Wage Worker here, which I don't. So I think what I did here, what I saw and did, was to put the Managarm into the server.
Yeah,
just to have it ready there. And depending on what your turn looks like, I might be looking to score behind ice next turn. Depending on what your money situation is, if you just invest all your money into, I don't know, breakers, stuff like that. But this way I just have options, and I can also next turn start with the fully operational. And for example, fully operational, draw into a Wage Worker, use red level to install the Wage Worker, and then play in third operation. Like all of those options are still open.
I think there's an argument to putting the Drafter on the Spin Doctor just to have more fully operational value. And
yeah, pretty sure that Pinsel would tell me so. Yeah,
but I think this is still fine. Yeah. I think we also briefly talked about Midnight into the remote and advancing it. Just make me I have 2 cards and not really much in the way of breaking on the board. So it's not that likely that I can get into the server, and scoring an early Midnight might be just a good way of getting ahead. But I think this is also fine.
And what I was thinking, like 2 heuristics that I had here. One of them is against Sable, try to ice centrals more often than you would, for example, against Zaya. Because Zaya just gets credits out of it, one or some, whereas Sable gets a click out of it, and the click is super worth it. So I kind of felt like just putting the draft on R&D here was also good at this point. But the other thing is also, I don't like to push agendas. In this case, even install Advance in Midnight 3 here, which is obviously an agenda in this deck, like especially if both players know the list. But even if not, like most players would assume that an Advance card can only be an agenda in this kind of PD deck. And at that point, like a Boomerang just kills me. Finding a Breaker, but that's less likely. But I'm not really happy trying to push a move there. Like you can have a Bravado, let the ice be shown, and then have a Mutual Favor or something like that. So there are many options. Even with the 2 cards in hand, I don't really like to push here. But maybe I should more.
I get it.
There's an argument to be made there for sure.
There's some space to explore for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Very obviously installing Nuka, drawing with it. Here I decided that I can face check with Bravado. One thing that is dangerous here is the Hagen, because I would lose the Chesville against it, but I was willing to put myself on this. And it's just a Fly Swatter, which is fine with me.
Maybe just general thing to know in this deck, like playing against the PD, the only really dangerous thing is Drafter. Scatterfield will install a card from HQ, so don't do this last click, as you did, I guess.
I guess Scatterfield obviously would have been also not the greatest for me.
Yeah, but once again, as we said, like Scatterfield on HQ is typically a mistake, so that's probably still fine. But in general, you would. The worst thing that can happen is a drafter fire, which like gets back your digital life or through operational, installs a wage worker, and it's just downhill from there. So once you have your revolver, you can actually pressure the PD player into raising ice, getting lower on credits that way, and then probably open up some opportunities with transfer of wealth.
Yeah, my idea was that drafter or Maskirovka would be the most likely ices on HQ, and against the drafter it would be very nice because I can break it, I can get my click back, but I think Flyspot is also fine with me. And I Hagen is a one-off, so it's not very likely. And Scatterfield, I would just expect it to be on a remote. It's like the ice for the remote, or maybe on archives or R&D, as you said. All right, we draw into fully operational, which is great.
Luminal.
Yeah, Luminal, which is great. This is the best agenda in the deck, probably. It made the deck so much better when it got unbanned.
No. We are looking at the first click of like multiple clicks here, so we might draw into wage workers with the second draw decision, stuff like that. If we, I think you already got to the fully operational, right?
Yeah. So we obviously just draw with it. I think Nano Management is a great draw. Wage worker is a great draw.
Spin Doctor on the table, so worst case we just get rid of some agendas and clean the hand, play your digital life, stuff like that.
Now we can do the crazy stuff with red level for wage workers, rest the wage worker, play Nano Management. And now we have 4 clicks, so we can fast advance the Luminal and get another wage worker click. We already got a wage worker click for triple operation. We played red level, we played fully operational, we played Nano Management. And that's exactly what we do. We install Luminal, triple advance and score, and now we have 4 clicks. And interestingly, before we score, we have to choose which card we want to get back with PD. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like you've already revealed my thought. I was looking at humanoid resources here.
Yeah.
Maybe one heuristic as well when playing the PD. Always look at red level clearance first. It is, in I would say 80% of scores, it is the card to get back, because it is what enables you to use your wage worker, Nano Management, whatever else, to then score the next agenda. But in this case,
to think about the humanoid is, if we now see why we picked it up, we have 4 clicks left now.
Yes.
So it's perfect to install humanoid and use it, and that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
But maybe we can go back and do a little quiz to you what could be a better play, maybe. And so if you want to find it out, maybe you pause the video here, because we were going to talk about it in a second.
This is where the broadcast square becomes a chess channel.
Yeah. Okay. You got the humanoid, but what would have been the card that you could have taken instead?
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead? Maybe one of the things that I did not see here was that I got an install for free. So I was thinking, okay, I will just humanoid, click it, use it, and that was my turn, which is already a great outcome. Like if you look in the end what happened here, we scored 2 points, we got a ton of clicks of value. Like this is already great. But what I had was I installed the agenda, I installed the humanoid, so a third install would already have been free. So that is already one thing that I might have improved here.
Yeah, we see. Let's play the turn out so that we don't get ahead of ourselves. So, what you did was install the humanoid and use it, and installed an ice on HQ, ice on the Spin Doctor, and play a hedge fund, which is great, obviously.
Yeah.
But as we can see, at this point, we installed the humanoid and we installed the agenda. The wage worker was installed by the red level, which doesn't count, and also, we could have had just another wage worker click by installing any other card, which is probably just an ice that you can put somewhere, and something that's just an improvement on the turn that we already have.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what else is there? Do you remember?
I'm not looking at it actually, and I'm not fully remembering what we were talked about.
You're not fully remembering what we were talking
I'm
about.
not fully remembering. We were looking at fully operational, but I don't remember the full turn that we talked about. Was it agenda
the thing that we could
installs?
do, we could just get the fully operational back instead of the humanoid, so that we can install an ice and play the fully operational. If we just imagine the humanoid being in a fully operational, we could have, instead of drawing only in quotations mark 3 cards, we could have drawn more and got more money with your digital life in that turn, and that's probably just a better outcome than just using humanoid. But it's also, you have to think like fully operational gives us 6 cards, while humanoid gives us 3 cards and 3 credits, so it's kind of comparable, but cards are usually more important in this deck, especially because of your digital life. And this is,
and we're also getting
similar,
some more money, I think, in the end compared to
this
the
is similar
turn.
Situation with fully op and your digital life as we had before, where you always want to draw cards and not gain credits because cards are credits.
Exactly. I don't fully remember what we talked about, what we're actually installing here, if we are doing that. It might even be that we are pushing an agenda score for next turn while doing all of the fully operational value.
Mm-hmm.
But we are for sure, with the 4 clicks that we have at that point, we're for sure opening up a second iced remote. Mm-hmm. And if you go one step back, the cards that we have in hand are these. So if you open up a second remote, and we don't have the humanoid in hand because we got back the fully operational instead, that means we're putting an agenda in the remote. So at that point, we'll also have to plan ahead of how we want to score that agenda actually. Having a Rage Worker on a Managram on the table kind of makes the Midnight 3 install really good if we can hope to push it through. And looking at 2 ice to put in front of it, I would say it is somewhat likely. So one likely turn here is Midnight 3 Maskurovka on the remote. Then have 2 clicks left. Go for the fully operational Your Digital Life. We have 3 clicks left
if we sequence this correctly, let's say instead of the humanoid install, we do the Maskurovka install on Spin Doctor, and then we play the fully operational, that's the humanoid, and then we draw 6. Then we have another install for free. We can use the Spin Doctor to shuffle in back 2, install the Midnight, still have 2 clicks, or we can play the YDL first, because why not get an extra credit? And then install another card. Could be the Hagen, could be another ice that we draw, and
I think at that point you're pretty happy with the turn. Like, you're for sure happy with the turn, but you're also looking at a double iced server. The Hagen is strength 4 if a Kurapira appears. So the runner with the current situation, with only 2 cards in hand, with no Kurapira at this point, is not really likely to find stuff. Even your most likely thing is a Boomerang here that gets into the server, but that's why we have 2 ice that both enter run. So it is very unlikely that the runner can actually get to the Midnight 3 here. And if we had done that, I think we would get ahead a ton here.
Yeah, but I think this is also not a bad play. It's just a little bit slower and not putting an agenda on the table already, protecting HQ a little bit more against transfer, which makes a bit of sense for sure.
But funnily enough, I think like retrospectively, this still counts as a foot gun being shot off.
Yeah,
like
at least a toe being shot off for sure.
Because like, even though we got all of this value, even though we are ending our turn on 9 credits and still have 2 agenda points and everything, I think we are setting ourselves up for getting defeated some turns later, because we have somewhat slowed down. We have only scored 2 points without any option of scoring 2 points again next turn, which we would have had with the other line.
All right, let's see at the runner turn. Very obviously using Nuka. Drawing again Bravado into R&D, which I expected to be the drafter that I saw on HQ before. I was correct.
Yeah.
Seeing a card on R&D and installing the Class Act.
Yeah, completely sensible.
If we now think about what if you had the remote with the Midnight 3, you could have scored it this turn. We had probably a couple of credits more even than we have now. And
also it doesn't really matter, like, even if we get transferred down to 0, create your digital life from that point on just recovers, and we are set up with 4 points to go towards the end game. Whereas now we're looking to score a second agenda, and we're wondering how to do that.
Yeah. So you use the Spin Doctor first, getting red level clearance, which you already said is a very valuable card, and the agenda back, drawing with the Spin Doctor.
Yeah, because we're assuming that we're just triple installing here.
I guess now, yeah, you have to kind of have the problem in quotation marks that you want to play your Digital Life earlier, but you kind of can't. So you're installing the agenda, the second ice, which is interesting. That's a drafter that's breakable by the revolver, and then your Digital Life.
Yeah. I decided, once again, as I've said before, we need to push forwards. Like, we can't slow down. Once we slow down, our ice will not hold. So I just need to set myself up this turn at the latest for the second agenda score. And I am thinking, like, I'm definitely looking at your Digital Life, and I'm kind of mourning the loss of 2 credits here, because we could have played it earlier for 2 credits more. This was just your Digital Life for 3 credits, which is not something you want to do. But I was pretty sure that having 2 eyes on that remote signals to the runner you can't get in here unless you have the 2 other types of breakers. Like, this was a drafter. I know that's a drafter, but I also know that the runner doesn't know that's a drafter. And what's most likely here is either Maskurovka into Fly Swatter or the other way around. And you kind of can't contest that. Even with a Bravado, I only pay 3 credits to res those. So it's like either, let's say you have a Unity, so you run and make me res the Maskurovka and the Fly Swatter both, maybe. It's still only 3 credits for me to res. I'm still set up to score next turn with the Midnight 3. So I'm kind of thinking this is a secure push, even though I know that a single barrier breaker or like a boomerang on the correct ice would get the runner in here.
Yeah, I think it's fine to say that, especially since like the setup for the runner isn't finished yet.
Exactly.
Let's see what I'm doing here. Just gonna carpe diem on Archives, because always the perfect mark. Maybe we could argue that R&D would have been better, but Archives is also very good. Then I'm deciding here on the Unity, because I already see the Fly Swatter on HQ. You could argue for Kurupira here, but I think Unity is fine.
Especially with 2 transfer of wells in hand, it's kind of difficult to not choose Unity here.
Exactly. I'm deciding that I'm bravading the road anyway, even though I'm expecting to not get in, because I want you to spend money because I'm thinking, I'm also reading this is a Midnight 3, and I want you to spend as much money as possible, so that the score is as hurtful as possible as well for you, economy-wise.
Although, once again, keep in mind that you are risking the Jesper here. So if there's a Hagen on this server, which is a one-off in the deck, and we both know that, you are just losing your Jesper here, which also throws you back somewhat.
True.
But still, I think this is a good bravado.
And in this third click, I remembered that I hadn't drawn that turn. I think I should have probably run first, because now I decide that I want to transfer HQ, and then I get kind of blown out by Hagen. Although I like that the corp is only on 3 credits, which means Midnight isn't scoreable without red level in this case.
Maybe go back. Like, I think at this point, Hagen is kind of better. I think your worst case res here is just Maskurovka that puts the corp on 6 credits and nothing happens other than you losing your transfer of wealth. I think Hagen here is actually a better outcome for you.
Yeah, for sure. True.
But yeah, I do hold red level in hand, and one thing that it does for you is to click for a credit. So I just do that, score the Midnight 3, because with 2 agendas in hand, I just need to, and also with just having to push forward the game, I just need to do this. At this point, if you run server 3, you're probably getting in, because you have, I guess you use the mutual favor, but you have ways of getting in there. You have a class act on the table. It is likely that you will find your Kurupira at some point. So that agenda is not safe. It was safe for this turn. It will not be safe for the next turn. So I just need to score it and just bite the bullet.
Yeah, maybe there could be an argument for, let's go back. Could be an argument for just trying to money up again. Maybe you could just quadruple credit and...
Yeah, it is an argument to just go 3 credits and maybe even your Digital Life once again for bad 3 credits, but maybe just 4 credits. There is an argument for that, but I kind of feel like that is putting myself too far behind.
Yeah.
And it is likely that you are finding your... Like, the point where you find your Kurupira is the point where you just know you can just go. Because you have 12 credits, I guess 9 at that point, and 5 on Penny Shaver. You can just start running.
So, and what is the card that you pick back here? red level, which makes sense because you're starved for credits now, and click compression and red level gives you that.
Although I am looking at the greasing in hand and 2 nano management, so I don't technically need the red level here to maybe win out the game. That's already 3 operations, but still, with 0 credits, red level is always handy. Be it to just get you a credit, be it to draw cards for your digital life, whatever you do here, it is always a good card to have.
You can maybe get yourself a click next turn by being able to gain a credit clicklessly and then your digital life, and then play, for example, greasing to install something to not discard as much. But I think it's the best card here.
Exactly.
So, but now that puts you on 0 credits, which is most of the time is a bad spot for the PD deck, especially after like having a big hand. So I can do whatever I want now. Also, I'm rolling archives, very nice. And I have the copulation, which I will use to get rid of the wage worker now that the ice is not reasable. Yes. And I'm also getting rid of the...
One thing to note, like, scoring out here, I knew for sure that I'm losing the wage workers. So that was... that accumulation appeared is also nice, but like, I knew that your correct move next turn is to just run the scatter field that I can't res, and the skunk that I can't res, and just trash likely both, but at least the wage workers.
Yeah. I'm over installing class hack. I need to get deeper. I need to find my Kurapira.
Yep.
And now we have the turn where 0 credits. I think you only took 2 credits and your digital life. Did you think about using red level for just a credit to be able to play more?
I did think about it. But can you quickly check that I did just that? I probably just next click is your okay, I did. I was thinking about it, but I did value the red level just for options later on, and I felt this was a nice enough turn. Once again, the humanoid does next to nothing at this point, because you're spending an entire turn to not win the game, to just draw up and prepare, and this is not the phase where we want to prepare, this is the phase where we want to find a way of scoring a 5-3 and just winning. So I can just discard that. I can
also very important to say that being on 4 points against 0 is a very, very nice situation to be in as the PD deck, because there's so many ways you can fast advance out the 5-3, or there are enough ways if you have enough money to fast advance out this 5-3. That's a very nice spot to be in.
Exactly. And I can discard the drafter for sure, because at this point with a revolver on the table and likely a secondary sentry breaking option, I will not be able to tax you out. And I did choose to discard the Ingatan because I want to clear up HQ a bit. I'm pretty sure that at some point Transfer of Wealth plus Twinning plus Cupulation plus stuff will happen. So I don't want to hold too many agendas in hand. Clearing out some of them with the Spin Doctor on the table is just the right move, I think.
Yeah.
I would guess there's even an argument to just drop 2 agendas, like drop the Ingatan and the Midnight 3. I didn't think about that before, but I think there's an argument for that to be done, because I'm seeing the Cupulation.
I like that copulation is an argument to get rid of more agendas, but I like that you have the option to shuffle something else back besides the agenda.
And also one thing that you will find yourself, like a spot that you will find yourself anyways, is this deck plays 8 agendas. I've scored 2 of them, so 6 are in the game. Between the 6 cards in my hand and the 11 left in R&D, so I will draw them again. Like you can't really keep your HQ clean, because if you shuffle back agendas, you will just draw them. So might as well just deal with it now rather than trying to deal with it and then having to deal with it again.
Yeah, in my turn I decided to just activate the twinning. So I'm installing Open Market because I didn't have the Chess V anymore, and installed the Nuka with the Open Market to get a trigger here. And then I realized I can't really run R&D because I'm missing a credit. So what I'm doing is, for one second I thought clicking Penny Shaver was nice as preparation for next turn, but then I thought otherwise, just running archives, seeing like
3 face downs.
that you have a 3 face downs, you have a Spin Doctor you probably want to shuffle, and I get another Penny Shaver credit that way. All right.
As I've said, once you shuffle back agendas, you will probably draw them. So that just
That's exactly what happens. Yeah. So.
And yeah, this was one of the critical turns in this game. We are looking at a way of scoring out a 5-3 with red level, greasing, nano management, like those cards score you 5-3 if you find the wage workers. The problem is that we didn't find the wage workers. One of them is sitting on the accumulation, which I do forget in this game. I was thinking I still have access to, I think at this point, I was thinking that I have access to 2 wage workers. I
think you have access to 2 actually, because there's
I do have access to 2, but at least I at some point forgot that the wage workers are sitting in population instead. But I haven't drawn them. One option is to use the red level to draw deeper into the deck and try to find it and then do something with it. But we are reaching the point where my remotes aren't actually all that safe. So difficult point here.
So let's see what you did, right?
Exactly.
You played the red level for 2 cards, which I think is very sensible, but it spends your red level, which might come back to bite you.
One argument for doing that was that greasing nano is already enough to score a 5-3, so getting rid of one of those tools is not all that bad, and I want to see my options.
So we see a Managram, which can make a remote a little bit more beefy, especially with me on basically 10 or 11 credits if you count the open markets, if I click the penny shaver, but I have to spend some clicks, which is obviously oftentimes the situation where Managram shines.
Exactly. And then you can show probably what I did, which was to install the Managram and install with greasing
the midnight.
Because I decided I'm not fast advancing with wage workers in this game likely. So I can just use the greasing. I don't need the greasing double nano turn something and win. So if I'm scoring 4 times 2 points, I can just as well take the credits. And I was thinking that Malagam keeps my agenda pretty safe, giving that runner is on 1 credit, I guess technically 10 credits with the penny shaver money, 11 with open market. But it is unlikely that you can get what you would need to do is draw with Nuka for the Kurupira, install Kurupira, click penny shaver, run the remote. And at that point you don't have the money to actually break all the ice, the drafter and the Maskurovka, and pay the 5 credits for Managam, so I know this agenda is safe.
Yeah, we can count it. We have 1 click, 2 click, 3 click. We get 10 credits. We are on 11 credits minus 3 from the Kurupira install. Then we are on 8 credits. We have to break the draft. We are on 6. Break the Maskurovka. We are either on 3 or 4 credits, but that's not enough to contest.
Exactly.
Right? Am I calculating that correct?
I think it's 3 or 2, but in any case, you're not paying the 5 for Managam.
Yeah, correct. 3 or 2 credits, but we cannot break. Yeah. We can decide to kill the Managam if we give you 2 credits, but also this is not the greatest thing. Also, we don't get the Kurupira token and stuff. So but this is another situation where we have a little quiz. So if you want to find out what the better turn here is, like if we start from, let's say the red level we played, but from this situation onwards, maybe you find a better play that we figured out later.
Yes.
Then you can pause now. Hey, maybe we can say what we would have done instead. Maybe.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that I wouldn't have found this even if I thought about it longer. I definitely needed this test game and probably like 2 more to learn that lesson. But what happens here, and we will see that happening out in the next few turns, is that we are just 1 turn too slow. Like, if you go to the end of the turn, just show the board state after all of the installs happen. What we need to do next turn is play Nano Management, score the Midnight 3. Leaves us on 4 credits if we don't have to res anything else. Probably like draw with Midnight 3, probably get back your digital life to then be able to money back up. Because what we need to do is use the second Nano Management to score the Project Ingatan, which is 7 credits. So our money situation doesn't look good. Our money situation can't pull this off in 2 turns. So it can only pull it off in 3 turns. 3 turns is a lot of time for the runner to catch up. Especially with the Cupulation on the table and the Twinning token and us on 5 points in hand. Like if this turn HQ falls, we are also losing the Ingatan, which is the thing that we need to score to get to 8 points. But even if it doesn't fall this turn, it is likely to fall next turn. So we're just slightly too slow to pull this off, and this is where the game will go. So what would have been the correct play? Or like I still don't know if it's a correct play, but it's definitely a better play.
The correct play, or the more win percentage play, in my mind, would have been to installing the center message instead of the Midnight 3. First of all, it gives you the winning agenda in the remote instead of relying on being able to like score two 2-pointers but only one 3-pointer. Obviously, or with
With hindsight.
with hindsight, or not with hindsight, but with this current situation, if we just think about it, we have 12 credits. Even if we play 2 nano managements, we only have 4 credits left. We cannot score a send a message out of the remote, so we are 1 credit short here. But still, we can get the money in the next turn and then be able to score the send a message the turn after.
You have to note there's a 1 in 10 chance of drawing a red level here, which enables you to just score it from the board as never advance. So you just play red level, get to 13, which is enough to double nano and advance 5 times. But the other option that you also have to consider here is to install advance to send a message. At that point, you're saving yourself a nano management and can also score it out next turn. But it means that you don't have the skunk work on server 3. So it becomes a lot more difficult. And it is, I guess that the fact that an agenda is in that server is telegraphed no matter what, or just very likely. But it becomes, I think, quite easy for the runner to get in. Like if there's another skunk work there, you can use your Nuka, you can find your Kurapira, and very likely get in. And even if you can't, if I have to res a drafter to keep you out, I'm also not scoring anymore. So I think the install advance is...
I think it's shady, but you have the option next turn to advance the sender message to spare your money that you need for nano management, which is very important. Exactly. And you can also just gauge by the way that the runner plays. Maybe they go low a little bit by like installing Kurapia, running HQ, and spending maybe recapitulation, another credit, so that they are less likely to get into the remote in the turn after, and that can make a big difference. But this, I think, is just too slow of a play, and the sender message is the play that might win you the game still. Even though it looks very good for you, like you have 4 points, you're way ahead, the board state kind of slips out of control for the corp here.
Exactly. And it is something that you are able to foresee if you are really, really experienced with the deck. I do have a lot of experience with the deck, but I'm still not able to see all of the things that can happen. And the deck requires that of you. If you are able to do that, you can cruise into wins quite often, but you can like sometimes do 1 mistake and get away with it, but 2 mistakes, 3 mistakes are way too much. And in this game, this is definitely the wrong line to take, and this is what loses me the game in the end.
Yeah, I think one thing that you also have to consider is that there's the chance that Sable doesn't find the barrier breaker. And in that case, also putting the 3-5 in the remote is the much better play.
Although, to be fair, with a class act, which has already bottomed like 3 or 4 cards, and the Nuka on the table, it happened
to me
likely.
at EMEA that I couldn't find any of the 4 cards that could have given me my Sentry Breaker against Wayland. And they were on the bottom, and I went through all of my draw cards. So that's an option, and you can play for that sometimes.
Definitely.
If you think that's worth it. But let's continue in the game.
And one more thing to note, and then we can continue. Putting the sender message in the remote also takes away 3 points out of the game. And assuming that the runner can't get there, they now need to find either the other sender message that is still in R&D or 4 times 2 points. So that's also one way of making the game safer.
True. All right, let's see. But I find the Kurapira here. I'm taking Penny Shaver money. I'm selling the Kurapira. And I'm deciding here. I went for transfer first, but then again, I have to say the mark isn't perfect this time because it was HQ. It would have been perfect.
Shame on
but
you.
The transfer actually wasn't the play because I didn't want to lose the twinning when I don't find the win here, which is very unlikely that I find the win here. Yeah. So I'm just going for my R&D free R&D run, so to speak. Couldn't find anything here. But I also decided to not use the twinning because I don't have the chess anymore, so the triggering the twinning isn't actually as easy. Can only really do it with open market here. And I decide to last click here, Sure Gamble. Also, this is where the second wage workers went. I trashed it from R&D. Because I really don't want you to have it because it makes scoring a 3-pointer so much easier.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have... You have 1 red level still left, so... I don't know where it is, and I don't want to give you the wage worker.
Yep. Funnily enough, there it is.
So, just in this situation, you could just clicklessly gain a credit from that level, double nano management, score send a message if you put it in server 3. But
exactly.
I mean, there's also you cannot really know if I transfer you or not, and if I transfer you, the display is not there anymore. But it would have been nice, and I think the reasoning we displayed I think quite a bit last turn. So I think it would have been still. If you draw the red level or not,
I would argue that you should play around Transfer of Wealth here, because with a nuke on the table, it is quite likely, I would say, like in 70% of games, the transfer happens and you're not scoring anyway. So you should play around what you do once that happens.
No, but you go through with your game plan, you score the Midnight 3, go to 4 credits, take your digital life. Everything just according to plan.
Even if we get transferred down to 1 here, we can just click for a credit, your digital life, something, and then be set up to nano management out in Ingatan next turn. So we are looking quite okay here.
Yeah. So I'm drawing up with Nuka. I find the open market, and now I'm just transferring of wealth. I like that I can see 2 cards from twinning, 2 cards from compilation.
Yeah.
Breaking,
so 5
breaking.
cards out of 9.
5 cards out of 9. I don't think this is like, it could be 50-50 to win the game here, but I'm very likely to see some points. I find an Ingatan, I find to send a message. Very good first 2 accesses.
I raise the drafter.
YDL, and Ingatan wins me the game here.
Yes.
And here you can see I win with 3 agendas, and if the send a message isn't here, maybe I'm on 6 points, but I'm still I'm not winning here. But you have to say though, if the send a message is still in the remote, I can probably just run into the remote and catch it from there.
At this point, I would not be on 1 credit. I could have had maybe sometime.
You could have rested Managam on the run on HQ for sure.
Exactly. But yeah, that is still.
It's hard to tell how the game would have gone if you went for the other play, but I still think it's probably the higher EV play to go for
it's definitely the better play of the 2 here, because this was foreseeable. What happens with the sender message is not that clear, but that the game would go this way, maybe not with 7 points from HQ, but even like with 5 or 4 from HQ, and then twinning, pointing at R&D, while I still have to spend a turn to try to your digital life, which losing cards from hand also makes quite a lot worse. Yeah, especially like if we just lose the 2 Ingatans, now I'm out of 3-2, so that plan also goes out of the window. So like there are too many ways of this plan going wrong, of us not being able to score the 8th point. So we need to just bank on the sender message getting through. Yeah,
I think this was a nice game. I think it's time to wrap it up. I hope we could show off a little bit about this deck that I think is really cool, this PD deck, and I hope we will continue making these and seeing you again.
Yes. This has been a lot of fun. And I think also the game has become a lot of fun lately. So while there might have been a lull from our side and other people as well, I think at least for us, we are really having a lot of fun with the game right now, and really looking back into getting into it, refining our decks, as you can also see with the decks that we came up with for EMEA, and also making this content here.
Yeah. And how did we close out on this series again? Always.
I think there was something with the yelling involved.
Hack the planet!
Hack the planet!
Shut up and get in the car.